The emergency room at Manhattan General Hospital buzzed with controlled chaos as Dr. Ethan Crawford pushed through the double doors, his surgical scrubs still damp with sweat from a 12-hour operation. At 34, he was the youngest neurosurgery department head in the hospital's history, and his reputation for saving impossible cases had made him both revered and feared throughout the medical community. Dr. Crawford, a nurse rushed toward him, clipboard in hand. There's been an accident on the interstate. Multiple casualties incoming, and Dr. Martinez says we need you in OR3 immediately. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Ethan barely glanced up from his phone, where a text message glowed ominously. 6 months. That's all you have left. The board meeting is final. His hands trembled slightly as he shoved the device into his pocket. The experimental treatment he'd been secretly undergoing for his rare neurological condition was failing, and soon everyone would know that the great Dr. Crawford was dying. "Tell Martinez I'll be there in 5, he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his mind. As he walked toward the elevator, a commotion erupted near the information desk. A young woman with shoulder-length auburn hair was arguing with the head of Human Resources, her voice carrying a slight tremor of desperation. "Ms. Parker, I've told you 3 times already," the HR director said with barely concealed irritation. "Your application for the surgical residency program has been denied. Your academic credentials are insufficient." Maya Parker clutched a worn leather folder against her chest, her green eyes flashing with frustration. "Insufficient? I graduated summa cum laude from Columbia Medical School. I've published research on minimally invasive brain surgery techniques. How is that insufficient?" "Your father's scandal has made you a liability to this institution," the director replied coldly. "Dr. Richard Parker's fraudulent research nearly destroyed 3 hospitals. We cannot risk association with his family name." Ethan paused by the elevator, something about the exchange catching his attention. He'd heard whispers about Richard Parker, a brilliant neurosurgeon who'd fallen from grace after allegations of falsifying clinical trial data. The man had supposedly fled the country before formal charges could be filed, leaving behind a trail of professional destruction. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper, but Ethan caught her words. "My father's actions have nothing to do with my abilities. I just need one chance to prove myself." "The decision is final, Ms. Parker. Security will escort you out if necessary." As Maya turned away, defeat written across her features, she collided directly with Ethan. Her folders scattered across the floor, medical journals and research papers spreading like fallen leaves. Their eyes met for a brief moment, hers filled with unshed tears, his calculating and cold. "Watch where you're going," he said dismissively, stepping around the mess without offering to help. Maya dropped to her knees, frantically gathering her papers. "I'm sorry, I didn't see." "Dr. Crawford," the nurse's voice cut through the tension. "Emergency in the parking garage. Someone's collapsed." Ethan's demeanor shifted instantly, his professional instincts overriding everything else. He followed the nurse at a sprint, leaving Maya kneeling on the floor. But as they reached the elevator, they could hear her running behind them. "Please," she called out. "I'm a doctor. Let me help." The elevator doors began to close, but something made Ethan reach out and stop them. Maybe it was the desperation in her voice, or maybe it was the way she'd said, "I'm a doctor," with such quiet conviction despite being humiliated moments before. In the parking garage, they found an elderly man convulsing on the asphalt, foam at his lips, his body rigid with seizure activity. A small crowd had gathered, but no one knew what to do. "Step back, everyone," Ethan commanded, dropping to his knees beside the victim. "Someone call 911. "Already done," Maya said, appearing at his side. Without waiting for permission, she began checking the man's pulse. Rapid and thready. "Look at his pupils. Severely dilated. This isn't a typical seizure." Ethan glanced at her sharply. "I didn't ask for your opinion." "His breathing is becoming labored," Maya continued, ignoring the dismissal. "We need to check for airway obstruction, but more importantly, look at the rigidity pattern. This presents like strychnine poisoning, not epilepsy." "That's impossible. How would you even?" The man's convulsions suddenly stopped, his body going completely limp. No pulse. "He's coding," Ethan said, positioning his hands for CPR. "Wait!" Maya's hand shot out, stopping him. "If this is strychnine poisoning, CPR could trigger another fatal seizure. We need to get away from my patient, Ethan snapped. You're not even licensed to practice in this hospital. But before he could begin compressions, Maya had already tilted the man's head back, examining his throat. There's something lodged in his airway. It's not just poisoning. He's choking. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small Swiss Army knife, the blade gleaming under the fluorescent garage lights. Are you insane? Ethan grabbed her wrist. You can't perform surgery with a pocket knife in a parking garage. He'll die if I don't, Maya said, her voice suddenly calm and authoritative. I can see the obstruction. It's a pill casing. Probably a time-release poison capsule that broke open in his throat. We have maybe 30 seconds before his brain shuts down permanently. For a moment, Ethan stared at her. There was something in her eyes, a steady confidence that reminded him of the surgeon he used to be before his diagnosis, before the fear crept in. Against every protocol he'd ever learned, he released her wrist. Maya's hands moved with surgical precision. She made a small incision just below the man's Adam's apple, her movements quick but controlled. Blood welled up, but she worked through it, using the tip of the blade to extract a partially dissolved capsule. Bag ventilation, she ordered, and somehow Ethan found himself following her lead, using his jacket to create a makeshift airway seal. The man gasped, his eyes flying open. The EMTs arrived 3 minutes later to find the victim conscious and breathing, with Maya calmly explaining the procedure she'd performed. The lead paramedic, a grizzled veteran named Tom Rodriguez, shook his head in amazement. Lady, I've been doing this for 22 years, and I've never seen anything like that. Where'd you train? Columbia Medical, Maya replied quietly, then glanced at Ethan, though apparently that doesn't count for much around here. As they loaded the victim into the ambulance, Tom pulled Ethan aside. Doc, I don't know who that girl is, but she just saved a life with a pocket knife and more skill than half the residents I've worked with. If she's looking for work, you'd be crazy not to hire her. Ethan watched Maya walking away, her shoulders square despite the day's rejections. For the first time in months, something other than his own mortality occupied his thoughts. Ms. Parker, he called out. She turned, wariness replacing the confidence she'd shown during the emergency. My office, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. sharp. Dr. Crawford, I appreciate the gesture, but I've already been rejected by your hospital. I'm not offering you a residency, Ethan said, his expression unreadable. I'm offering you a chance to prove you're more than your father's daughter. My personal research assistant position just opened up. The pay is minimal, the hours are brutal, and everyone will assume you only got the job because of what happened today. Maya studied his face, looking for the catch. And in return? In return, you get access to cases that most residents never see. You get to work with cutting-edge neurological research. And maybe, if you're as good as you think you are, you get to show this hospital what real medicine looks like. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing, Miss Parker. That man in the garage, the pill casing you removed? It was filled with a rare neurotoxin, the kind that requires very specialized knowledge to identify, the kind that your father happened to be researching before his career imploded. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. 7 a.m., Ethan repeated. Don't be late. As he walked away, Maya realized she'd just stepped into something far more complicated than a simple job offer. The question was whether she was walking toward redemption or straight into the same trap that had destroyed her father. The next morning would bring answers she wasn't prepared for, and challenges that would test everything she thought she knew about medicine, trust, and the thin line between salvation and destruction. Maya arrived at Manhattan General at 6:45 a.m., her hands wrapped around a steaming coffee cup to hide their trembling. The hospital corridors felt different in the early morning light. Less chaotic, but somehow more intimidating. She'd spent the entire night researching Dr. Ethan Crawford, and what she'd found both impressed and terrified her. Crawford's office occupied a corner of the neurosurgery wing, its walls lined with medical journals and awards. Behind his desk hung a photograph of him shaking hands with the Surgeon General, but Maya noticed something else. Prescription bottles hastily shoved into a desk drawer that hadn't quite closed. You're early, Ethan said without looking up from a stack of patient files. Good. We have a full surgical schedule today. About yesterday, Maya began. I want you to know that I didn't. The neurotoxin case has been transferred to the FBI, Ethan interrupted. Apparently, 3 similar poisonings occurred across the city this week. All victims were connected to pharmaceutical research. Maya felt her stomach drop. Do they think it's related to your father's research? I have no idea. His blue eyes finally met hers, cold and calculating. But I'm going to find out. Your first assignment is to review everything in this folder. He slid a thick file across the desk. Patient confidentiality forms are on top. Sign them. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Maya opened the folder and froze. The first page contained a detailed medical history for Dr. Richard Parker, her father. But these weren't records from before his disappearance. These were recent. Current, active treatment records from a private clinic in Switzerland. He's alive, she whispered. Very much so, and according to these records, he's been continuing his research on experimental neurological treatments. The same research that got him labeled a fraud. This is impossible. He died in a car accident 2 years ago. I saw the death certificate. Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying her reaction. Did you? Or did you see what someone wanted you to see? Before Maya could respond, the office door burst open. Dr. Samantha Hayes, the chief of staff, strode in with 2 other department heads flanking her like bodyguards. Crawford, what the hell do you think you're doing? Dr. Hayes demanded, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun that matched her expression. I just heard you hired Richard Parker's daughter as your research assistant. Dr. Hayes, Ethan replied smoothly. May I introduce Dr. Maya Parker? She'll be working under my direct supervision. Like hell she will. The woman's voice could have frozen water. Do you have any idea what kind of lawsuits this hospital is still dealing with because of her father? The FDA is breathing down our necks, and you want to bring his daughter into our neurosurgery department? Maya stood up slowly, her jaw clenched. Dr. Hayes, with all due respect, I am not my father. My medical credentials speak for themselves. Your medical credentials? Dr. Hayes laughed, but there was no humor in it. Your father falsified clinical trial data that led to 4 patient deaths. He stole proprietary research from 3 different pharmaceutical companies. And now you show up here claiming to be some kind of medical prodigy? The parking garage incident yesterday suggests otherwise, Ethan interjected. Dr. Marcus Webb, the head of internal medicine, stepped forward. Ethan, we've been colleagues for 8 years. Don't throw your career away over some misguided loyalty to a girl you just met. My career? Ethan's voice dropped dangerously low. Marcus, remind me, how many brain surgeries have you performed this year? That's not the point. The point is that Dr. Parker identified a rare neurotoxin poisoning in under 30 seconds and performed an emergency airway procedure that saved a man's life. While the rest of us were standing around discussing protocols. Dr. Hayes pulled out her phone. I'm calling security. This ends now. Actually, a new voice said from the doorway, it doesn't. Everyone turned to see Tom Rodriguez, the EMT from yesterday, holding a tablet. Behind him stood a man in an expensive suit, clearly a lawyer. Tom, Ethan said, surprised. What are you doing here? Came to give you this, Tom said, handing over the tablet. Yesterday's victim. Turns out he's Jonathan Mitchell, the pharmaceutical billionaire. His family's offering a $10 million reward for information leading to the arrest of whoever poisoned him. The lawyer stepped forward. My client is also prepared to make a substantial donation to this hospital's research department, specifically to support the work of the medical professional who saved his life. Dr. Hayes' expression shifted rapidly from anger to confusion to barely concealed greed. I'm sorry, Mr. Davidson, Jonathan Mitchell's personal attorney. We've done extensive research on Dr. Maya Parker's background. Her published research on minimally invasive techniques is groundbreaking. Mr. Mitchell would like to fund her continued work here at Manhattan General. Maya stared at the tablet Tom had given Ethan. On the screen was a news article. Pharmaceutical mogul survives assassination attempt, saved by mystery doctor's unconventional surgery. This is insane, she said. I just helped someone who was choking. Someone who was poisoned with a neurotoxin that only 12 people in the world know how to synthesize, Davidson replied. Someone whose death would have transferred control of Mitchell Pharmaceuticals to parties unknown. Your intervention may have prevented a corporate takeover worth $40 billion. Dr. Webb cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, Ethan said firmly. Dr. Parker stays. In fact, I'm promoting her to senior research associate, effective immediately. You can't, Dr. Hayes began. I can, and I am. The Mitchell donation gives my department autonomous hiring authority. Dr. Parker, your new salary is 3 times what I offered yesterday. Maya felt like she was in a dream. Or a nightmare. Dr. Crawford, I appreciate this, but I don't understand what's happening. What's happening, said a familiar voice from behind the group, is that someone is trying very hard to kill people connected to your father's research. Maya turned to see a woman in her 50s with sharp features and calculating eyes. She wore a lab coat over an expensive blouse, and her badge identified her as Dr. Elizabeth Crane, Director of Research. Dr. Crane, Dr. Hayes said nervously, I didn't realize you were. Jonathan Mitchell wasn't the first victim, Dr. Crane continued, ignoring Hayes. 3 other researchers who worked with Richard Parker have died in the past month, all from the same neurotoxin, all made to look like accidents or natural causes. The room fell silent. Maya, Dr. Crane said, your father didn't falsify his research. He discovered something that certain people will kill to keep secret, something that could revolutionize neurological treatment, or be weaponized in ways that would make yesterday's poisoning look like a minor inconvenience. Maya sank back into her chair. What kind of discovery? The ability to regenerate damaged neural tissue, specifically brain tissue destroyed by trauma, disease, or congenital conditions. Dr. Crane moved closer. Your father wasn't stealing research. He was hiding it. From people who wanted to use it for purposes he couldn't live with. Ethan had gone very still. You're talking about a cure for degenerative neurological conditions. Among other things, yes. That's impossible, Dr. Webb protested. The blood-brain barrier alone makes neural regeneration. The blood-brain barrier can be circumvented, Maya said quietly, if you use a viral vector delivery system combined with targeted stem cell therapy. My father published preliminary papers on the technique 5 years ago. Everyone stared at her. You knew about this? Ethan asked. I helped develop it, Maya admitted. I was 19, working in his lab during college. I thought we were trying to cure Alzheimer's disease. I had no idea anyone would want to weaponize neural regeneration. Dr. Crane nodded grimly. The same technique that could cure brain damage could also be used to enhance cognitive function beyond normal human limits, or to create targeted neurological weapons. The applications are limitless. And someone killed 3 researchers to get it, Tom added, plus tried to kill Mitchell, who was funding competing research. Which means, Ethan said slowly, Maya isn't just Richard Parker's daughter. She's the only person left alive who knows how to replicate his work. Maya looked around the room at the faces staring at her, some calculating, some fearful, some hungry. This is exactly what my father was afraid of, she said. This is why he disappeared. And this is why, Dr. Crane said, you're going to help us find him before whoever's behind these murders figures out that you're the key to everything they want. The weight of the revelation settled over Maya like a suffocating blanket. She'd come to this hospital looking for a chance to practice medicine. Instead, she'd walked into the center of a conspiracy that had already cost lives and would likely cost more. What if I refuse? She asked. Ethan's expression softened slightly. Then you'll spend the rest of your life running from people who will stop at nothing to get what's in your head. Maya closed her eyes, thinking of her father's voice from years ago. Sometimes, Maya, the only way out is through. Where do we start? She asked. 3 weeks into her new position, Maya had settled into a routine that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Her days began at 5 a.m. in the research lab, analyzing tissue samples and reviewing her father's encrypted files that Dr. Crane had somehow obtained. But it was the evenings that had become unexpectedly complicated. Your technique is all wrong, Ethan said, standing behind her as she practiced suturing on a cadaver brain. The neurosurgery skills lab was empty except for them, the fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows across the metal tables. I've done this procedure hundreds of times in simulation, Maya replied, not looking up from her work. Simulation isn't the same as having someone's life in your hands. His voice was closer now, and she could feel the warmth of his presence. Here, let me show you. His hands covered hers, guiding the surgical needle with practiced precision. Maya tried to focus on the technique, but all she could think about was how his fingers trembled almost imperceptibly, a detail she'd noticed increasingly over the past few days. "Dr. Crawford," she said softly, "when was the last time you saw a neurologist about your own condition?" Ethan's hands stilled. "What condition?" "The one that's causing the tremor in your left hand. The one that's getting worse each week." She finally turned to face him, their faces inches apart. "The one that's probably why you're so desperate to find my father's research." For a moment, something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. Then the mask slipped back into place. "You're imagining things." "I'm a doctor, Ethan. I notice symptoms. Your gait has been slightly unsteady for the past week. You've been taking medication that you think no one sees. And yesterday, during the Thompson surgery, you asked me to make an incision that you could have done with your eyes closed." Ethan stepped back, his jaw clenched. "Even if that were true, it's none of your concern. It is if you collapse during surgery. It is if patients die because you're too proud to admit you need help." "Like your father needed help?" The words came out harsher than he'd intended. Maya flinched as if he'd struck her. "My father was trying to save lives. Including yours, apparently. Your father was a coward who ran away when things got difficult. My father was protecting his research from people who would use it to hurt innocent people." Maya's voice echoed in the empty lab. "Just like you're protecting your patients by refusing to admit you're sick." They stared at each other in tense silence until Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and paled. "What is it?" Maya asked. "Emergency in the ICU. Dr. Martinez is asking for both of us." They rushed through the hospital corridors, arriving at the ICU to find chaos. Dr. Carlos Martinez, the head of emergency surgery, was standing over a patient whose brain monitor showed dangerous spikes. "What happened?" Ethan demanded. "Jane Morrison, 43, car accident victim from last month. She's been stable for weeks but suddenly developed massive brain swelling. We've tried everything. Mannitol, hypothermia, surgical decompression. Nothing's working." Maya looked at the patient's chart, her heart sinking. "Dr. Martinez, what treatment has she been receiving?" "Standard post-traumatic brain injury protocol, plus a new experimental drug that Mitchell Pharmaceuticals donated for our trial program." "What experimental drug?" Ethan's voice was sharp. Dr. Martinez handed him a vial. "Neural Regen 7, it's supposed to help repair damaged brain tissue." Maya grabbed the vial, her hands shaking. "This isn't Neural Regen 7. Look at the molecular structure diagram on the label. Someone's modified the formula." "What are you talking about?" Dr. Martinez asked. "Neural Regen 7 was my father's original formula, but this has an additional compound that would cause exactly what we're seeing. Massive brain swelling followed by neural death." Ethan stared at her. "You're saying someone deliberately sabotaged the medication?" "I'm saying someone is using our patients as test subjects for a weaponized version of my father's research." The monitors around Jane Morrison began alarming more frantically. Her brain pressure was reaching critical levels. "She's going to die if we don't do something in the next 10 minutes, Dr. Martinez said. Maya closed her eyes, thinking. When she opened them, her expression was determined. "There's an antidote, but it requires synthesizing a compound that neutralizes the modified formula." "How long will that take?" Ethan asked. 6 hours in a standard lab, but I can do it in 30 minutes if I have access to your private research facility." "Maya, that's impossible, even if you're right about the sabotage." "Ethan," her voice was calm but urgent. "Remember what I told you about trusting your instincts? Trust mine now." He looked at the dying woman, then at Maya's determined face. "Dr. Martinez, prep the patient for experimental treatment. Maya, you have 25 minutes." Maya sprinted to Ethan's private lab, her mind racing through chemical formulations she'd memorized years ago. She pulled compounds from the refrigerated storage, mixing and heating solutions with the precision of a master chef following a beloved recipe. 15 minutes later, she had a syringe filled with clear liquid. "This is insane," Dr. Martinez muttered as Maya injected the antidote directly into Jane Morrison's IV line. For 3 agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then the brain pressure monitor began to drop. "It's working," Ethan said, amazement in his voice. Within 10 minutes, Jane Morrison's brain swelling had reduced to normal levels. She opened her eyes and spoke her first coherent words in weeks. "Where am I?" Dr. Martinez stared at Maya in awe. "How did you know?" "Because," said a cold voice from the doorway, "she's been sabotaging our research all along." They turned to see Dr. Hayes standing in the entrance with 2 security guards and a man in a dark suit Maya didn't recognize. "Dr. Hayes," Ethan began, "Maya just saved." "Maya Parker just administered an unauthorized experimental drug to a patient without proper consent or FDA approval," the suited man interrupted. "I'm Agent Foster, FBI. Dr. Parker, you're under arrest for practicing medicine without proper licensing and endangering a patient's life." "That's ridiculous," Ethan protested. "She saved Jane Morrison's life." "Did she? Or did she poison the patient in the first place and then conveniently produce an antidote?" Agent Foster pulled out handcuffs. "Dr. Parker, we have evidence that you've been in contact with known criminals associated with your father's illegal research." Maya felt the world spinning around her. "What evidence?" Agent Foster showed her a photograph, Maya meeting with a man in a coffee shop, but she'd never seen the man before in her life. "That photo was taken 3 days ago at the Starbucks on 5th Avenue, Agent Foster said. "The man you're speaking with is Viktor Petrov, a known associate of pharmaceutical black market operations." "I've never seen that man before in my life," Maya said desperately. "The timestamp and facial recognition software say otherwise." Ethan stepped between Maya and the agent. "This is obviously a setup. Someone is trying to frame her." "Dr. Crawford," Dr. Hayes said firmly, "step aside. We have board authorization to terminate Dr. Parker's employment immediately." "Actually," Dr. Crane's voice rang out as she entered the ICU, "you don't." Agent Foster turned. "Dr. Crane, this doesn't concern." "It concerns me very much," Dr. Crane interrupted, holding up her phone. "Because I just received a call from Jonathan Mitchell's security team. Viktor Petrov was found dead in his apartment this morning, killed by the same neurotoxin that was used in Mitchell's poisoning attempt." The room fell silent. "Furthermore," Dr. Crane continued, "the timestamp on that photograph has been digitally altered. The original image was taken 6 months ago, long before Dr. Parker came to work here. Someone is going to great lengths to frame her." Agent Foster's confident expression wavered. "That's impossible. Our tech team verified." "Your tech team was fed false information," Dr. Crane said. "The question is, by whom?" Maya looked around the room at the faces surrounding her, some suspicious, some supportive, some calculating. "This is about more than just my father's research, isn't it?" Dr. Crane nodded grimly. "Someone doesn't just want to steal the neural regeneration technology. They want to eliminate everyone who knows how to create it, including you." Ethan's phone buzzed with an urgent message. His face went ashen as he read it. "What is it?" Maya asked. "It's from an encrypted account," he said slowly. "Someone claiming to be your father. He says he's coming to New York, and he's bringing proof of who's really behind the murders." Maya felt her knees weaken. After 2 years of believing her father was dead, the possibility that he was alive and reaching out felt surreal. "There's more," Ethan continued. "He says to tell you that the chess game you started in his lab 5 years ago isn't over. He's ready to make his next move." Maya's eyes widened. Only her father would know about the chess game they'd left unfinished the day before his supposed death, a game that had become their private code for dangerous situations. "He's alive," she whispered. "And," Dr. Crane added ominously, "he's walking into the same trap that nearly killed you tonight." Maya stared at her laptop screen in Ethan's apartment, unable to process what she was seeing. The encrypted message from her father had arrived at 3 a.m., containing coordinates to a location in Central Park and a single line: "The Queen's Gambit was always your strongest move. Trust no one at the hospital, Dad." "He wants to meet tonight," she said, showing Ethan the message, "but he's warning me not to trust anyone at Manhattan General." "He want in." Ethan sat down beside her on the couch, wincing slightly as his left leg spasmed. The tremors were getting worse, and they both knew it. "That includes me, doesn't it?" "Does it?" Maya turned to face him. "You still haven't told me what condition you have. You still haven't explained why you really hired me." For a long moment, Ethan was silent. Then he reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a thick medical file. "Huntington's disease. Late stage." I have maybe 4 months before the symptoms become impossible to hide. Maya's heart clenched. Huntington's was a devastating neurological condition that destroyed motor control, cognitive function, and eventually, everything that made someone themselves. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I hired you because your father's research represents the only possible cure, he continued. Not to help patients, not for medical advancement. Because I'm terrified of dying, and I was willing to use you to save myself. The confession hung between them like a physical barrier. Maya felt something inside her chest crack. So everything between us, the late nights in the lab, the way you've been protecting me from Dr. Hayes, it was all manipulation? It started that way, Ethan admitted. But Maya, what I feel for you now is real. What happened tonight with Jane Morrison? The way you synthesized that antidote, the way you saved her life. I've never seen anything like it. You're brilliant in a way that terrifies and amazes me. Before Maya could respond, her phone rang. Dr. Crane's name flashed on the screen. Maya, don't go home tonight. Dr. Crane's voice was urgent. Someone broke into your apartment, ransacked everything. Whatever they were looking for, they didn't find it, because they also hit your father's old lab at Columbia. We're at Ethan's place, Maya said. What did they take from my apartment? That's just it. Nothing seems to be missing, but Maya, there's something else. Jonathan Mitchell is dead. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. What? How? Another neurotoxin attack, but this one was different, more sophisticated. The poison was delivered through his pacemaker. Someone hacked the device and used it to inject the toxin directly into his heart. Ethan grabbed the phone. Dr. Crane, this is beyond medical terrorism. Someone has access to advanced biotechnology and cybersecurity capabilities. Which is why I'm calling. Maya, I need to tell you something about your father's research that I haven't shared before. Maya put the phone on speaker. What do you mean? Your father didn't just develop neural regeneration therapy. He created something called Project Genesis, a comprehensive system for enhancing human cognitive and physical capabilities. Neural regeneration was just one component. Enhanced how? Ethan asked. Increased processing speed, perfect memory recall, accelerated healing, extended lifespan. Essentially, he figured out how to upgrade the human brain and body at the cellular level. Maya sank back into the couch. That's impossible. The ethical implications alone. Which is exactly why he hid it, Dr. Crane continued. But Maya, the techniques he used to create Genesis, someone's been reverse engineering them. The neurotoxin attacks aren't random, they're field tests. Field tests for what? For a weaponized version of Genesis. Instead of enhancement, they're creating targeted neural destruction. A way to kill specific individuals with their unique genetic markers, delivered through any number of vectors: food, water, air, even electronic devices like Mitchell's pacemaker. Ethan stood up abruptly, pacing despite his unsteady gait. You're talking about biological warfare on an unprecedented scale. I'm talking about the ability to assassinate anyone, anywhere, without leaving a trace of conventional poison or weapon, Dr. Crane replied. And Maya, the reason they're after you isn't just because you helped develop the original research. It's because your genetic code was used as the template for the Genesis enhancement protocol. Maya felt like the room was spinning. What does that mean? It means you're not just Dr. Richard Parker's daughter, you're the first successful Genesis subject. Your father used the technique on you when you were a child, during what you thought were routine medical checkups. The pieces suddenly clicked into place. Maya's exceptional memory, her ability to process complex medical information at superhuman speed, her uncanny diagnostic instincts, the way I've always been able to see patterns that others miss. Your brain processes information approximately 4 times faster than average. Your immune system is enhanced. Your cellular regeneration rate is accelerated. You're living proof that Genesis works. Ethan stared at Maya with a mixture of awe and something that looked like hunger. If that's true, then your blood, your tissue samples, they could be used to replicate the Genesis enhancement. Or, Dr. Crane said grimly, to create a weapon specifically designed to kill enhanced individuals like Maya. Maya's phone buzzed with another encrypted message. This one contained a single photograph. Her father, tied to a chair in what looked like a laboratory with a gun pressed to his head. Below the image was a simple message: Central Park, midnight, come alone, or Daddy dies. "It's a trap," Ethan said immediately. "Of course it's a trap," Maya replied, "but they have my father." "Maya, if what Dr. Crane just told us is true, you can't risk." "Can't risk what?" "Saving the man who gave me the abilities that make me valuable in the first place." Maya stood up, her mind already calculating possibilities. "Dr. Crane, I need you to do something for me." "Anything." "I need you to prepare a dead man's switch. If something happens to me tonight, I want my father's complete Genesis research released to every major news outlet and scientific journal simultaneously. Make it impossible for anyone to suppress." "Maya, that's—" "The only way to ensure that this technology doesn't fall into the wrong hands is to make sure it's in everyone's hands," Maya interrupted. "No single organization can control something that doesn't exist in secret." Ethan grabbed her arm. "You're talking about fundamentally altering human evolution. The consequences of doing nothing are watching innocent people die while someone builds an army of enhanced soldiers or develops genetic weapons," Maya replied. "At least this way, the playing field is level." She headed toward the door, but Ethan blocked her path. "I'm coming with you," he said. "No, you're not. Your condition makes you a liability, and I won't risk your life for this." "My life is already forfeit," Ethan replied quietly. "But maybe I can do something meaningful with the time I have left." Maya looked at his determined expression, seeing past the arrogance and desperation to something deeper. A man who had spent his career saving lives and refused to stop, even as his own body betrayed him. "If you slow me down, I'll leave you behind," she warned. "If I slow you down, you won't need to." As they prepared to leave, Maya's phone rang one more time. The caller ID showed Dr. Martinez's name, but the voice that answered was unfamiliar. "Dr. Parker, this is Commander Sarah Walsh, U.S. Army Medical Research Command. Dr. Martinez is currently in our custody, along with several other hospital staff members who have been compromised by foreign agents." Maya felt her blood turn to ice. "What are you talking about?" "Someone has been using Manhattan General Hospital as a testing ground for biological weapons. We believe your father's research has been stolen by a hostile organization, and you are their primary target for elimination." "Who's been compromised?" Ethan demanded. "Dr. Hayes, Agent Foster, and I'm afraid, Dr. Crane." Maya looked at Ethan in horror. If Dr. Crane was working for the enemy, then everything they'd just discussed, including the dead man's switch, was compromised. "Dr. Parker," Commander Walsh continued, "we need you to come in immediately, for your own protection." "How do I know you're really military?" Maya asked. "Because," Walsh replied, "we're the ones who helped your father fake his death 2 years ago. And we're the only ones who can help you survive what's coming next." Maya ended the call and stared at Ethan. Everyone she had trusted, everyone who had claimed to help her, had been playing their own game. The meeting in Central Park wasn't just a trap. It was the final move in a chess match she hadn't even known she was playing. "Change of plans," she said. "We're not going to Central Park." "Where are we going?" Maya's expression hardened with resolve. "We're going to end this, once and for all." Maya's hands shook as she loaded her father's encrypted research files onto a dozen USB drives in the abandoned Columbia University laboratory. The building had been condemned for months, making it the perfect place to work without surveillance. Ethan stood guard by the broken windows, his Huntington's tremors making him an unlikely but determined sentinel. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, watching her work. "Once this information goes public, there's no taking it back." "There's already no taking it back," Maya replied, her enhanced cognitive abilities allowing her to process and transfer complex genetic sequences at superhuman speed. "My father is being tortured somewhere, people are dying, and apparently I'm a walking science experiment. The only choice I have left is whether to let the bad guys win in secret or make sure everyone knows what they're fighting for." She paused her work, suddenly overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she'd learned. "Ethan, what if Commander Walsh is right? What if releasing this technology destroys everything? Enhanced humans, genetic weapons, the end of humanity as we know it." Ethan moved away from the window, sitting down across from her despite his unsteady legs. "Maya, in 4 months, maybe less, I won't remember your name. I won't remember how to perform surgery, or tie my shoes, or feed myself. Huntington's is going to take everything that makes me who I am, piece by piece." Ethan, but tonight, right now, I still know that you saved Jane Morrison's life with a pocket knife and 15 minutes of chemistry. I know that you've revolutionized everything I thought I understood about medicine. And I know that the woman sitting across from me is the most brilliant person I've ever met, enhanced genetics or not. Maya felt tears threatening. How can you be sure I'm not just a weapon my father accidentally created? Because weapons don't agonize over moral choices. They don't save poisoning victims in parking garages or risk their lives for strangers. Whatever your father did to you, he didn't create a monster. He created someone who could change the world for the better. Before Maya could respond, her laptop chimed with an incoming video call from an unknown number. She hesitated, then accepted it. The screen filled with the image of her father, Richard Parker, but he looked nothing like the man she remembered. His hair had gone completely gray, his face was gaunt, and there were fresh bruises around his eyes. Maya, his voice was weak but urgent. Thank God you're alive. Dad, Maya's voice broke. Where are you? Are you hurt? I'm in a research facility about 50 miles north of the city. Maya, listen carefully. Everything you think you know about Genesis is wrong. Behind her father, Maya could see sophisticated laboratory equipment and computer screens displaying genetic sequences. Dad, I know about the enhancements. I know what you did to me. Richard Parker's expression crumpled with guilt. I never wanted this for you. The Genesis protocol, it wasn't supposed to be permanent. It was supposed to be reversible. What do you mean? The cognitive and physical enhancements were designed as a temporary medical treatment. 24 to 48 hours of accelerated healing and enhanced mental capacity to help patients recover from severe brain trauma. But Maya, his voice trailed off. But what? Your immune system adapted to the treatment. Instead of processing it out of your body, you integrated it. You became the first permanent Genesis subject by accident. Ethan leaned into the camera frame. Dr. Parker, this is Dr. Ethan Crawford from Manhattan General. Are you saying Maya's enhancements are unstable? I'm saying they're evolving, Richard replied grimly. Maya, have you noticed any changes recently? Increased sensory perception? Faster reflexes? The ability to process information even more quickly than before? Maya thought about the past few weeks. How she'd been able to diagnose the neurotoxin poisoning instantly, synthesize the antidote with impossible speed, and process complex genetic data faster than any computer system. Yes. The Genesis protocol is adapting to threats. Your body is essentially upgrading itself in real time to meet whatever challenges it encounters. But Maya, this process is accelerating. Without proper regulation, it could... The video feed suddenly went black, replaced by a different face, a woman in her 60s with silver hair and cold blue eyes. Dr. Parker won't be able to finish that thought, the woman said calmly. Hello, Maya. I'm Dr. Victoria Sterling, Director of Advanced Biological Research for Nexus Corporation. Where's my father? Maya demanded. Safe, for now. Maya, your father has been working with us for the past 2 years to develop a stabilization protocol for your condition. You see, without intervention, the Genesis enhancements will eventually overwhelm your nervous system. You have, perhaps, weeks before permanent neurological damage begins. Maya felt the room spinning. You're lying. Am I? Have you experienced any headaches recently? Moments of disorientation? Brief memory gaps? Dr. Sterling smiled coldly. The very abilities that make you special are slowly destroying your brain. Ethan grabbed Maya's hand. Don't listen to her. This is psychological warfare. Dr. Crawford, isn't it? Dr. Sterling turned her attention to him. Huntington's disease, late stage. Maya, did you know that Dr. Crawford's condition makes him the perfect test subject for a different application of Genesis technology? We could cure him completely, make him stronger and smarter than he ever imagined. All we need is a small tissue sample from you. What kind of tissue sample? Maya asked. Brain tissue. Specifically, tissue from the areas where the Genesis modifications are most concentrated. A simple biopsy procedure, you'd barely feel it. Maya stared at the screen, her enhanced mind calculating probabilities and outcomes at lightning speed. You want to lobotomize me? We want to save you, Dr. Sterling replied, and help thousands of others in the process. Maya, you're dying whether you cooperate with us or not. But if you come in voluntarily, we can at least make your sacrifice meaningful. And if I refuse? Dr. Sterling's expression hardened. Then we'll take what we need from your corpse. and Dr. Crawford will die slowly and painfully from his degenerative condition, along with your father, of course. The video feed switched back to Richard Parker, now clearly being held at gunpoint. Maya, don't listen to her. The stabilization protocol exists, but not the way she's describing it. You don't need brain surgery, you need… The feed cut off again. Maya stood up abruptly, pacing the small laboratory space as her mind raced. She's right about one thing. I have been having headaches. And yesterday I forgot how to get to the hospital cafeteria for about 10 minutes. Maya, even if your condition is deteriorating, giving yourself up to these people isn't the answer. Isn't it? Maya turned to face him. Ethan, what if I could save you? What if my death could lead to treatments that help thousands of people with neurological conditions? Not like this. Not through torture and murder. Maya's laptop chimed again, this time with a message from Commander Walsh. Dr. Parker, we've located the Nexus facility. The military extraction team is standing by, but we need your cooperation. Meet us at the coordinates I'm sending. Come alone. Another trap, Ethan said immediately. Probably, Maya agreed, but what choice do I have? Everyone wants something from me. My blood, my brain, my father's research, my cooperation. The only way this ends is if I stop running and start fighting back. She began uploading her father's research files to a secure server with a time-delayed release. If I don't input a cancellation code every 12 hours, this information goes public. Every genetics lab, every major university, every government research facility in the world will have access to Genesis technology simultaneously. Maya, that could cause global chaos. Or global equality. If everyone has access to enhancement technology, no one has a monopoly on it. As she finished the upload, Maya noticed something strange in her father's research files. A hidden folder labeled Maya_failsafe. Inside was a video message timestamp from 3 days ago. Her father's face appeared on screen, looking healthier than in the earlier transmission. Maya, if you're seeing this, then Sterling has made contact and you're running out of time. There is a stabilization protocol, but it's not what anyone expects. Maya leaned closer to the screen. The Genesis enhancements aren't killing you. They're preparing you for something bigger. Maya, you're not just enhanced. You're evolving into something new, the headaches, the memory issues. They're not symptoms of deterioration, they're growing pains. What does that mean? Maya whispered. It means, my dear daughter, that you're becoming the first truly post-human intelligence. And there are people who will kill to control that evolution, and others who will kill to stop it. The message ended, leaving Maya staring at a blank screen as the full weight of her situation settled around her. She wasn't just fighting for her life anymore, she was fighting for the future of human evolution itself. Ethan, she said quietly, I think we're going to need a bigger plan. The abandoned subway tunnel beneath Manhattan felt like the perfect metaphor for Maya's life. Dark, forgotten, and full of dangerous possibilities. She and Ethan had been hiding there for 6 hours, waiting for Commander Walsh's extraction team, while Maya's enhanced senses picked up every sound, smell, and vibration in their underground refuge. Movement above us, Maya whispered, her head tilted as she listened to footsteps on the street level. At least 12 people, moving in formation, military precision. Ethan checked his watch. Walsh said her team would be here at 0300. It's 0247. Then either they're early or we're about to have company we don't want. Maya's laptop chimed with an encrypted message from an unknown sender. Maya, it's Tom Rodriguez, the EMT from the hospital. I've been working undercover for the FBI's bioterrorism unit. Dr. Sterling's people have surrounded your location. You have maybe 3 minutes before they breach the tunnel. There's an old maintenance shaft about 50 yards east of your position. Take it, Tom. How does an EMT end up working in bioterrorism? Ethan asked, reading over her shoulder. Same way a parking garage doctor ends up evolving into a post-human intelligence, Maya replied grimly. Nothing about my life makes sense anymore. They gathered their equipment quickly, but as they moved toward the maintenance shaft, Maya heard something that made her freeze, her father's voice echoing through the tunnel system. Maya, if you can hear me, please don't run. I'm here with Commander Walsh. We have a solution. Dad? Maya called out, her voice carrying in the enclosed space. Maya, no! Ethan grabbed her arm. It could be another trap. But Maya's enhanced hearing could detect the subtle stress patterns in her father's voice. This was really him, and he was terrified. He's alone, she said. No guards. His heart rate is elevated from fear, not deception. Richard Parker emerged from the shadows, looking haggard but alive. Behind him came Commander Walsh, a stern woman in military fatigues who moved with the fluid confidence of a Special Forces operative. Dr. Parker, Walsh said, we don't have much time. Nexus Corporation has mobilized a full tactical team. They'll be here within minutes. Where's Sterling? Maya demanded. Setting up a command center in the old Mercy Hospital building, her father replied. Maya, she has dozens of enhanced subjects there. People she's been experimenting on using corrupted versions of Genesis technology. Enhanced how? Commander Walsh pulled out a tablet showing surveillance footage. Increased strength, accelerated healing, but zero empathy or moral reasoning. She's created super soldiers with no conscience. Maya watched the video in horror as enhanced subjects moved with inhuman speed and coordination, their eyes completely emotionless. She's militarizing the technology. Worse than that, her father continued. She's planning to release a weaponized version of the Genesis virus into the New York water system. Within 72 hours, 8 million people will be infected with unstable enhancements that will either kill them or turn them into mindless drones. That's genocide, Ethan said. It's evolution, Walsh replied coldly. At least, that's how Sterling sees it. Survival of the fittest on a global scale. Maya's enhanced mind began calculating possibilities and outcomes. How do we stop her? We can't, her father said. But you can. What do you mean? Richard Parker pulled out a small device that looked like a medical scanner. Maya, your evolution isn't random. The Genesis protocol in your system has been learning, adapting, and preparing for exactly this scenario. You're not just enhanced, you're the antibody. I don't understand. Your unique genetic integration of Genesis technology has created something new. A biological firewall that can neutralize weaponized versions of the enhancement. But Maya, using it will require you to interface directly with Sterling's central processing system. Commander Walsh stepped forward. Dr. Parker, we've identified the location of Sterling's command center. It's in the hospital's old neurosurgery wing, heavily fortified and protected by her enhanced soldiers. How many soldiers? Maya asked. 17 confirmed, possibly more. Each one has approximately 3 times normal human strength and reflexes. Maya looked at Ethan, whose tremors were becoming more pronounced under stress. I can't ask you to. You're not asking, Ethan interrupted. I'm volunteering. Maya, I've spent my entire career trying to save lives. If I'm going to die anyway, let me die doing something that matters. Ethan, these aren't regular people. They're designed to kill. And I'm designed to save lives. Sometimes those two things require the same skills. Commander Walsh checked her tactical radio. Dr. Parker, we have movement on all fronts. Nexus teams are converging on this location. We need to move now. As they prepared to leave the tunnel, Maya's father pulled her aside. Maya, there's something else. The interface with Sterling's system, it's not reversible. Once you connect to neutralize the weaponized Genesis, your own enhancements will be permanently altered. Altered how? I don't know. You could lose your abilities entirely, or they could evolve beyond anything we can predict. You could become something that's no longer recognizably human. Maya closed her eyes, thinking of Jane Morrison lying in the ICU, of the enhanced soldiers with empty eyes, of 8 million innocent people about to become unwilling test subjects. Dad, do you remember what you used to tell me about being a doctor? Richard Parker smiled sadly. Sometimes the hardest part of healing someone is accepting that you might lose yourself in the process. Then let's go save some lives. The journey through Manhattan's underground infrastructure took 43 minutes, with Maya's enhanced senses guiding them through maintenance tunnels, abandoned subway lines, and forgotten basement connections between buildings. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew closer with each passing minute. When they finally reached the basement of the old Mercy Hospital, Maya could hear Sterling's voice echoing through the building's ventilation system, speaking to her enhanced soldiers. The Parker girl is coming. She's more dangerous than any of you understand, but she's also the key to perfecting our work. I want her alive if possible, but neutralized at all costs. 17 soldiers, Walsh whispered, checking her tactical display. Plus Sterling and at least 6 research technicians. What's our plan? Ethan asked. Maya studied the building schematics on Walsh's tablet. The neurosurgery wing is on the 7th floor. Sterling's command center is there, along with the central processing system for the Genesis weaponization program. Maya, her father said urgently, once you interface with that system, you'll have maybe 10 minutes before the feedback loop becomes irreversible. Are you certain about this? Maya looked at the three people who had become her unlikely family. Her father, who had sacrificed everything to protect his research. Commander Walsh, who was risking her military career to prevent a biological catastrophe. And Ethan, who was facing his own mortality with courage she could barely comprehend. I'm certain, she said, but I'm not doing this alone. She turned to Ethan. Remember what you said about weapons not agonizing over moral choices? I need you to be my conscience during the interface. If I start to change into something that's no longer me, I need you to remind me who I am. Maya. And Dad, I need you to monitor the biological feedback. If the integration starts to kill me, I need you to pull me out, regardless of whether the mission is complete. And what do you need from me? Walsh asked. Maya's expression hardened with determination. I need you to make sure that no matter what happens to me, Sterling doesn't leave that building alive. As alarms began blaring throughout the hospital and the sound of tactical boots echoed in the stairwells, Maya realized that the next hour would determine not just her own fate, but the future of humanity itself. Remember, she said as they prepared to move toward the upper floors, we're not just fighting for our lives anymore. We're fighting for what it means to be human. The final battle for Genesis had begun. The 7th floor of Mercy Hospital resembled a high-tech fortress more than a medical facility. Maya's enhanced vision could see heat signatures through walls, 17 enhanced soldiers positioned throughout the neurosurgery wing, with Dr. Sterling's command center glowing like a beacon of electronic activity at the corridor's end. 2 soldiers guarding the main elevator, Maya whispered to her team as they crouched in the emergency stairwell. 4 more in the hallway leading to Sterling's lab. The rest are positioned as a perimeter defense. Commander Walsh checked her tactical equipment. Dr. Parker, I can neutralize the perimeter guards, but once we engage, you'll have maybe 8 minutes before reinforcements arrive from Sterling's other facilities. 8 minutes, Maya's father repeated grimly. That's not enough time for a safe interface with the command system. Then we don't do it safely, Maya replied. Ethan, are you ready? Ethan's hands were shaking more violently now, but his voice was steady. Maya, before we do this, I need you to know something. The night we met in that parking garage, when you saved that man's life, that was the first time in months I remembered why I became a doctor. Maya felt her enhanced emotional processing centers flooding with something that transcended mere human affection. Ethan, whatever happens in there, whatever you become, remember that feeling. Remember that you chose to save a stranger's life with nothing but a pocket knife and pure determination. Before Maya could respond, the building's fire alarm system activated Walsh's diversion. In the chaos that followed, Maya moved with inhuman speed through the corridors while her team engaged Sterling's soldiers in tactical combat. The enhanced soldiers were formidable opponents, faster and stronger than normal humans, but lacking the creative thinking that came with emotional intelligence. Maya exploited this weakness, using medical equipment as improvised weapons and turning their own enhanced reflexes against them. She reached Sterling's command center to find the woman calmly typing at a computer terminal, seemingly oblivious to the battle raging outside. Dr. Maya Parker, Sterling said without turning around. Right on schedule. I was beginning to think you'd lost your nerve. Release the antidote for the water system contamination, Maya demanded. What contamination? Sterling smiled coldly. The Genesis enhancement began dispersing into the city's water supply 6 hours ago. By now, approximately 2 million people have been exposed to the preliminary dosage. Maya felt her enhanced nervous system surge with adrenaline. You're lying. Am I? Sterling gestured to multiple screens showing news footage from across the city. Emergency rooms were filled with people experiencing seizures, violent behavior changes, and cognitive alterations. The beauty of biological warfare, Maya, is that by the time anyone realizes what's happening, it's already too late to stop. How do we reverse it? We don't, but you can ensure it continues in a controlled manner. Sterling finally turned around, revealing cybernetic implants along her temples and neck. I've been enhancing myself with Genesis technology for 3 years, Maya. I know exactly what you're experiencing. The sensory overload, the accelerated thinking, the gradual disconnection from baseline human emotion. Maya stared at the implants. You're not human anymore. Neither are you. The question is whether we guide humanity's evolution together, or whether millions of people die from uncontrolled genetic chaos. Maya's enhanced hearing detected approaching footsteps, more soldiers coming up the emergency stairs. She had perhaps 90 seconds before overwhelming force arrived. "What do you want?" Maya asked. "I want you to interface with my central processing system and upload your stable Genesis integration pattern. Your genetic template will allow me to create a universal stabilizing agent for everyone who's been exposed. And in return? In return, you become the template for controlled human evolution. Think of it, Maya. No more genetic diseases, no more degenerative conditions like your friend's Huntington's, no more humans suffering from biological limitations." Maya thought of Ethan, currently fighting enhanced soldiers in the hallway despite his deteriorating nervous system. She thought of the 2 million people across the city who were experiencing uncontrolled genetic modifications. She thought of her father, who had spent years running from the consequences of his humanitarian research. "Show me the interface," she said. Sterling led her to a chair surrounded by neural interface equipment that looked like a cross between a medical scanner and an execution device. "The process takes approximately 10 minutes. During that time, your consciousness will be directly connected to my processing network. You'll experience every enhancement protocol simultaneously. And afterwards? Afterwards, you'll either emerge as the first truly post-human intelligence, or you'll cease to exist as anything recognizable as Maya Parker." Maya sat down in the chair as Sterling began attaching neural interface cables. Through the command center's windows, she could see chaos spreading across Manhattan, ambulances racing through streets, people collapsing on sidewalks, emergency broadcasts on every visible screen. "Maya!" Ethan's voice echoed through the facility's intercom system. "Whatever you're doing, remember who you are." Sterling smiled as she initiated the interface sequence. "Shall we begin your evolution?" The neural connection activated and Maya's consciousness exploded outward into Sterling's network. She could suddenly perceive the genetic modifications happening in real time across millions of people, could feel the chaotic biological processes threatening to tear apart human DNA throughout the city. But Maya also felt something Sterling hadn't anticipated. Her father's original Genesis protocol wasn't just about enhancement, it was about healing. And Maya's unique integration had turned her into a living antidote to genetic chaos. Instead of uploading her template to create more controlled enhancements, Maya began broadcasting a stabilization signal throughout Sterling's network. Every person connected to the Genesis contamination suddenly began experiencing cellular repair instead of genetic breakdown. "What are you doing?" Sterling demanded, trying to disconnect the interface. "What I was designed to do," Maya replied, her voice now carrying harmonics that resonated through the entire facility. "I'm healing people." Sterling's cybernetic implants began sparking as Maya's stabilization signal overwhelmed the woman's enhanced nervous system. "You don't understand. Without controlled evolution, humanity will stagnate." "Maybe," Maya said, her consciousness now spanning across the entire city's biological network. "But that's humanity's choice to make, not yours." The interface reached critical resonance, and Maya felt her individual identity beginning to dissolve into something larger. For a moment, she was simultaneously herself and every person in New York City who had been affected by Genesis technology. She could feel Ethan's Huntington's disease being systematically repaired at the cellular level. She could sense her father's guilt being replaced by pride as he witnessed his daughter saving millions of lives. She could perceive Sterling's enhanced soldiers suddenly experiencing emotions for the first time in years as their artificial modifications were replaced by stable genetic healing. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small Swiss Army knife, the blade gleaming under the fluorescent garage lights. "Are you insane?" Ethan grabbed her wrist. "You can't perform surgery with a pocket knife in a parking garage." "He'll die if I don't," Maya said, her voice suddenly calm and authoritative. "I can see the obstruction. It's a pill casing. Probably a time-release poison capsule that broke open in his throat. We have maybe 30 seconds before his brain shuts down permanently." For a moment, Ethan stared at her. There was something in her eyes, a steady confidence that reminded him of the surgeon he used to be before his diagnosis, before the fear crept in. Against every protocol he'd ever learned, he released her wrist. Maya's hands moved with surgical precision. She made a small incision just below the man's Adam's apple, her movements quick but controlled. Blood welled up, but she worked through it, using the tip of the blade to extract a partially dissolved capsule. "Bag ventilation," she ordered, and somehow Ethan found himself following her lead, using his jacket to create a makeshift airway seal. The man gasped, his eyes flying open. The EMTs arrived 3 minutes later to find the victim conscious and breathing, with Maya calmly explaining the procedure she'd performed. The lead paramedic, a grizzled veteran named Tom Rodriguez, shook his head in amazement. "Lady, I've been doing this for 22 years, and I've never seen anything like that. Where'd you train?" "Columbia Medical," Maya replied quietly, then glanced at Ethan, though apparently that doesn't count for much around here. As they loaded the victim into the ambulance, Tom pulled Ethan aside. "Doc, I don't know who that girl is, but she just saved a life with a pocket knife and more skill than half the residents I've worked with. If she's looking for work, you'd be crazy not to hire her." Ethan watched Maya walking away, her shoulders squared despite the day's rejections. For the first time in months, something other than his own mortality occupied his thoughts. "Ms. Parker," he called out. She turned, wariness replacing the confidence she'd shown during the emergency. "My office, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. sharp." "Dr. Crawford, I appreciate the gesture, but I've already been rejected by your hospital." "I'm not offering you a residency," Ethan said, his expression unreadable. "I'm offering you a chance to prove you're more than your father's daughter. My personal research assistant position just opened up. The pay is minimal, the hours are brutal, and everyone will assume you only got the job because of what happened today." Maya studied his face, looking for the catch. "And in return?" "In return, you get access to cases that most residents never see. You get to work with cutting-edge neurological research. And maybe, if you're as good as you think you are, you get to show this hospital what real medicine looks like." He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing, Miss Parker. That man in the garage, the pill casing you removed? It was filled with a rare neurotoxin. The kind that requires very specialized knowledge to identify. The kind that your father happened to be researching before his career imploded." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. 7 a.m., Ethan repeated. "Don't be late." Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.